Good evening, folks. What's going on? Andy Campbell here, representing the United States with my friends Sean Fitzgerald and Jimmy O'Malley. Welcome back to our bi-weekly show or weekly show. We don't know. Sometimes we're weekly, sometimes we're bi-weekly. Anyway, season 8, episode 18 of the Chicago Rinkcast. But tonight, we got some other things to talk about, and not just the Chicago Blackhawks. But folks, the way we're going to well, first of all, Sean, how are you? I love your jersey and I love your hat.
Thank you. I am doing well. Excited for Team USA and Canada Thursday, and I'm doing well.
There you go. Jimmy, how you doing, man? Welcome back.
Good to be back. Good to be in good health. Not being able to digest food is a luxury, gentlemen. Don't ever put it to waste.
Yep. Don't ever not want to digest food, folks. All right. So first, what we're going to do, we're going to start with a public apology from us, from the guys at the rink, from the Rinkcast, because for up until last week, we were talking about the Four Nations tournament going, why are they doing this? This is silly. Guys are going to get hurt. Guys aren't going to put out and play hard. Sean was calling it the Four Seasons Cup, all sorts of fun things. And it has been anything but. And had we known that this might be the best thing the NHL has done this century with hockey, potentially, we would have commented otherwise. But fellas, the Four Nations Cup, it's been incredible. It's been the best hockey this generation's ever seen. It's been the best since the 96 World Cup. It rivals any Olympics, maybe not the 2010 Olympics when Canada won with the golden goal with Sidney Crosby, but it's electric. It's made non-hockey fans hockey fans. It's made the NBA look silly. It has been awesome. And for those of you, if you've not been paying attention to the Four Nations Cup, what planet are you living on right now? Because you're obviously not living on this one. How good has this been? Shawnee, talk to me. Tell me how good it's been.
It's been amazing. So the ratings, 10.1 million viewers viewed the game on Saturday. It did a 4.4 rating share with a peak of 5.2. It was the highest, the USA-Canada game, the highest rated non-Stanley Cup final game since 2019. And it outrated the viewership. People were viewing it more than the last Stanley Cup finals. Like, as opposed to, now think about this, the Sharks and Seattle drew 177,000 people the Saturday before the Four Nations tournament. 170,000 people watched that game. 10.2 million watched it. JJ Watt was tweeting about it, saying, the people who are usually not involved in hockey were saying this is the greatest thing ever.
How many of you gotten texts from non-hockey fans being like, dude, I'm watching this. This is awesome.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
I was at a non-hockey fan's house on Saturday. I go, can we put the USA-Canada game on?
Yeah.
And they have kids, so we left after the first period. And I was getting texts later that night, put the kids to bed, USA, USA. Like, that's how it was.
Yeah.
Like, it was so exciting. Like, people were fired up about it. It was getting a lot of play. The NBA All-Star Game, I haven't been able to find any concrete numbers on what they did viewership-wise.
Yeah.
The NBA.com put out they had like 1 billion people on social media platforms, but I'm sure they were complaining, because all I've seen is people complaining about just how poor the product was, how poor the event was. And I think the Four Nations Cup has superseded it. Like, I just saw a stat. It was 230% more viewers of the Four Nations Cup than the 2016 World Cup of Hockey. Like, that's how much exponentially better than the last international tournament the NHL put on. What is the Four Nations Cup?
Now they've got other sports thinking it through. Like, what should we do with our All-Star games now? Because the NHL has figured something out.
Yeah.
And they're onto something here. And Jimmy, let's what say you and talk to us about the quality of the games and the level of hockey and how hard the players are going.
It's a level of competition that every player buys into, because you're not just representing yourself like an all-star game. Players get picked to the all-star game. They're representing themselves and their team for the most part. But to have these guys, like, especially in hockey, just putting on the jersey of your nation, it means something. Like, these guys have a lot of national pride. Winning for your nation is a complete honor. And these guys, like, they put it on. And that's the benefit that hockey has in general. It has a great international level of competition that all players from, low-level juniors to the greatest players in this sport, Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, like, these guys want to do this. And I think that's something that the hockey benefits from that I don't think any other sport, maybe other than baseball, really
Jimmy, especially considering you said Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, LeBron James withdrew for the NBA All-Star game the morning of the game. Like, he took a roster spot from somebody who could have played in whatever spectacle they put on, but he didn't. Sidney Crosby, like, had a wrist injury, and it was his choice to play or not, and he chose to play. I thought that was really cool. Also,
guys are dropping like flies here too. I mean, the injuries are mounted up. I mean, the most notable one right now is Charlie McAvoy, who logged 19 minutes per game in the 2 games that he played against Finland and against Canada, is unavailable. And so guys are paying a price. Cale Makar was out. He was sick. Both Kachuk brothers through their fisticuffs. Who knows if that's how they got dinged up. Austin Matthews has been dinged up. So, I mean, but the popularity of this thing, if you wanted a single ticket right now off of StubHub to go to the final,
$1,200.
Yeah, $1,200. Or there's a single right now available on StubHub for $966 plus fees.
Ooh.
So if you're really looking hard in the 300 level of the Garden, anything in the 100 level is $2,000 plus. And the level of play has been so significant. It's been so fast. I went down yesterday for the afternoon game, which was Canada versus Finland. USA's not even involved. And the Boston Garden was just absolutely rocking. It was buzzing. It was festive. People were so happy to be there. Families, people singing, everyone decked out in their country's colors, even people wearing USA gear. USA was not even playing. There's this entire section in 300 level that was all yellow because it was all Swedish fans there. The goal songs, like, I mean, the Finland's goal song was some sort of a Finnish techno pop or something. I mean, it was so good. I mean, I downloaded it as soon as I got home, and my son and I were listening on the way home. I mean, it's just really been cool. And anyway, it's just, I mean, A+ to the NHL for pulling this off. But nobody saw this coming.
No.
In terms of popularity. I mean, it's just been outrageous.
Rich Eisen did 5 minutes on this, on the Rich Eisen show, which is like, he does everything pop culture, sports, but like the title was awesome to watch over the weekend. The NHL showed other sports leagues how to be a good all-star competition can be. Yeah. That's what he led with. Like, Rich Eisen, if you search Four Nations Face Off in Twitter or X or whatever they're calling it, that's the first thing that comes up, Rich Eisen show. So that's right. Like, this is crossed over from just the hockey niche market.
Yeah. Well, let's get into some of the hockey with this tournament. I mean, obviously it really is. I mean, it's a cultural phenomenon right now. But let's talk about some of the hockey too. Jimmy, tell us some players you've been really impressed with from any country. Obviously, USA is facing Canada Thursday night for the final. The world's two best, Sweden and Finland out. But who are some of the players that have been impressing you so far on either roster right now who you think are going to be big time and have an impact come Thursday night?
I mean, I think the obvious answer, and Eric Andrews is going to love it. I mean, Slavin is a dog. Yeah, I mean, it is like that entire third period when they played against Canada, where he basically just played the entire time and shut down the Canadian forwards, was incredible. I mean, the guy is the most responsible defenseman on the ice of any team in this Four Nations face-off, and it's showing. And Torts just trusts the guy so much. I am very excited to see what he can do in the championship game and see if he can just have a repeat performance. I mean, him along with the rest.
Yeah, he's going to have to.
He's going to have to with McAvoy being out. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they held McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby to 1 goal the entire game. Like that, how? Like, how do you give up only 1 goal to this potent Canadian offense? Yeah. It's Slavin.
Mm-hmm. Slavin's definitely been the beast in the back, I guess you could say, but Werenski's been great. Brock Faber has been good. He's
Yep.
Slavin's partner. I know Chicago fans don't want to admit it, but Brock Faber has been very good.
Eric Andrews would say Slavin is babysitting Brock Faber.
Yes. But Brock Faber, he's brought it. He's been good. Werenski's been good. I think McAvoy is going to be a big loss. I do. And it's still kind of who's replacing him. The Quinn Hughes thing, everyone is fascinated about. Quinn Hughes is now flying to meet Team USA, but he can't even roster. He can't even dress unless someone else gets sick and goes down. I don't know if they'll pull the strings. But who are the 6 defensemen that they will be rocking? We just named 3 of them.
Isn't it Jake Sanderson?
Jake Sanderson. Yep. Jake Sanderson will be in the lineup.
Who better be watching his food.
Yeah, right.
Quinn Hughes is on speed dial for Torts.
Yeah, but I don't know. And Trocheck has been banged up. I think Trocheck has been awesome. I don't think I ever valued Trocheck the way that he should be. I mean, he's been unbelievable in the dot. He plays in all zones. He's been a hell of a player. Any concerns going into tomorrow night?
Yes.
Thursday night? Yeah.
I'm very concerned for Team USA with McAvoy being out. Canada just you were there, Andy. Canada just overwhelmed Sweden early in the game. Like it was 3-0 before the end of midway through the first period.
Yeah, I mean, the Finland game, it was over the first 5 minutes when they went up 2-0. I mean, Finland obviously made that semi comeback in the end. They were down 4-0. Then all of a sudden it was 4-3 with a minute and a half to go. But it never felt.
No.
I don't know. I mean, when they scored the third one, everyone kind of went, "Oh, like, could this really happen?" And that would have been out of this world if it did. But Canada dominated. They totally dominated that game. I mean, they were in control the whole time. Barkov, was checked really well. A lot of people are on Mitch Marner's case, being like, "See, because he's not scoring, but he's not playing that role."
No.
He's been great in his end of the ice. He's been great in the neutral ice. I don't know why people are on his case. I actually, if we're going to do predictions, I think Canada's going to take this thing. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. And Eric mentioned in the DM say, I don't know, beating that team twice. And now they've got to deal with Cale Makar, which they didn't have to deal with Saturday night. That's a pretty decent hockey name.
And beating Sidney Crosby twice. Sidney Crosby going into that game was 26-0 in games where Sidney Crosby played in an international competition. He hadn't lost a game until he played Team USA on Saturday night. So you've got to overcome that mountain. And Sidney Crosby, this is probably the end. He'll probably go to the Olympics next year, and then that'll be the end for him probably. Yeah. In international competition, because he probably won't be around for the World Cup of Hockey and stuff like that. So I think Sidney Crosby is not going to let Team Canada lose. Yeah. I just think he's going to will them to it. Whether I know the Athletic did a piece that Nathan McKinnon and Connor McDavid have kind of taken the torch as Team Canada's leaders from Sidney Crosby. But don't forget, Sidney Crosby's still on the team, and he's still
it's his team. Really good. It's Crosby's team.
Yeah, until he could still be Superman. Go into the telephone booth and put the cloak, the cape on, and go for it. Yeah, he can still do it.
Jimmy, what are USA's keys Thursday night to victory? What do they have to do? I mean, Canada's going to throw the sink at them and do it early. Obviously, home cooking, home crowd.
Yeah, you gotta take that home crowd and run with it right away. I mean, as we all know, the weakness of Canada is their goaltending. You got to get to Binnington.
Get to the net.
You got to get multiple goals in that first period. You got to get Canada on their heels, because the good thing with Torts, and we saw it when they played Canada, when this American team is holding a lead late in the game, they can. They don't play on their heels on defense. They take away high danger zones. When they play with a lead, they're okay, especially with Torts, they're okay with playing a defensive game. These defensive core, even with McAvoy out, even with questions, they play a defensive game. Torts has that system, and that is going to be their goal. And you got to set the tone early with scoring. You can't take dumb penalties. I don't mind a fight or two. That really worked for the United States.
Yeah, and I don't think it'll open up with the fireworks that it did Saturday, but
probably not. It'll still be physical. I think the United States has the physical edge. They just have, the Kachuk brothers.
They're fast.
The Bash brothers.
Oh, the high five they had, after Brady Tkachuk was entering the penalty box. I want that about 100 stories high at the border of Canada as a statue, so they're reminded of the Tkachuk brothers, and they can, they'll be afraid of ever crossing that border because, those Tkachuk bros, they're fun, and they're skilled enough to also put the puck in the back of the net. So play with physicality, take an early lead, get in the Binnington's mind, let him, because if Binnington loses his cool and Canada is off the ledge because Binnington is highly emotional, they can take the game.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is that if you're going to pick one goaltender to be in between the pipes for you in the world right now, Connor Hellebuck is in that conversation, if not the one you want.
Yeah.
If you told me this game on Thursday ended 1-0, I would have think Hellebuck just scored a shutout.
Yeah.
I'm still going to go with Canada. Maybe some of that is just emotional insurance, which I think is important to a certain extent, but just so many weapons. But I wouldn't want to play the USA either. This is going to be, it could be an epic, epic night. What I would want to see, truthfully, is an overtime game with USA getting the golden goal.
Yeah.
On U.S. soil, I think would be really cool.
Yeah. And I want Crosby on the ice when they score it too. Just because I'm still mad about 2010. I am still mad he scored that goal.
Yeah,
I was livid when that happened. So
yeah. Do you all think, and this is pure speculation, but have the political circumstances surrounding both countries really heightened the interest in this? And, with the anticipation of the final, obviously in Montreal, very sensitive with the national anthems. The U.S. national anthem got booed. I'm certainly of the fabric of they weren't booing our country, just booing one person rather. But does that factor into the interest? What would you predict is going to be the Garden's response? Is the Canadian national anthem going to get booed? And that would be a shame if it happened. But I could certainly see that. I hope that all anthems are just roared for. But talk to me about your feelings about the political climate and how that has impacted this tournament in a sense. And do you think that has made more interest from the fan bases? Either one of you can jump in on that. What do you think, Sean? I guess
I think yes, the political climate has given this tournament a little bit more juice, a little bit more of an edge. I think whenever politics are involved and there's not really an outlet for it in terms for like the regular person, like sports is a lot of people's outlet. Like I'm wearing the jersey of the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team.
Very politicized game.
Yeah, it was because they were playing Herb Brooks, even like in the movie Miracle, and had said, obviously, I don't know if this is factually accurate, but he'd said, like, I got a telegram saying, beat those commie bastards. And like that he's like, we're playing a hockey game against greatest team in the world. And his wife had to tell him, like, it means more to some people. And I think with the trade war kind of starting and, just the back and forth between the U.S. and Canada on that front has given this a little bit more juice in that regard. And I think more eyeballs are on it. Canadians are mad because we're trying to make them, Canadians are mad at us and we're mad that the Canadians are mad at us is what the fan base is. I agree with you. I don't think anthem should be booed. I heard there was a smattering of boos for Canada's national anthem at the Garden last time.
You couldn't hear it.
I hope that it's not the case like that. I hope it's loud for both anthems. I hope it's a great game, and I hope that Team USA wins.
I like it. No, it was there. You might have heard like one or two people going, boo, but it was quickly drowned out. I think it'll be different now that the USA is involved in the game.
Yeah.
I don't think, Canada versus Finland, a lot of anxiety around anthem booing and things like that there.
Who doesn't like the Finns?
What's that?
Who doesn't like the Finns?
Oh, the Finns are great. No,
yeah.
They're great. Yeah.
The Swedes.
Swedes. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Then there's that.
And Jimmy Debbie Downer.
Yeah. Jimmy, what do you think about the politicizing of this whole thing and anticipations about tomorrow night? And do you think there is kind of a, whether you're Canadian or whether you're American, and us versus them, and taking this beyond meaning of a hockey game and a hockey tournament?
I don't know. Based on the comments from the players, it definitely doesn't seem like they're motivated by anything other than competition. This is definitely something for the talking heads in the news media and on Twitter. And, people just like to add their own spin to things.
Mm-hmm.
Will the anthem get booed on Thursday? I mean, I think so. I think it's kind of inevitable. I mean, it's kind of going to be a tit for tat kind of thing. Like,
yeah, I think it'll be silly. It'll be silly.
But I don't know. The U.S. anthem's going to get cheered a lot. Canadian anthem will probably get booed. I want to read too much more into that than.
No, you're right. I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't think it is tit for tat. Well, you did it to us, so we're going to do it. I mean,
it's definitely going to be like, well, he started it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just going to be that
very,
kind of
very childish. They did it first in Montreal.
It was them first. But like that'll be the extent.
Yeah,
of it.
that'll probably be it. But MVP predictions of the tournament. I assume the tournament has an MVP.
It does, I believe. I believe that it does have most. I think they have a most valuable player for each game too.
They do. I think if it's for the tournament, I mean, if Canada wins, I mean, Connor McDavid's been brilliant, McKinnon's been brilliant, Crosby's been great. It could be any of those. Mm-hmm. If it's the U.S. and they steal it, I could see Hellebuyck getting it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's Hellebuyck. Like,
yeah.
If he holds Canada to less than 2 goals, like if it's another 3-1 game, it's going to Hellebuyck.
Yeah.
NHL.com has Jake Gensel as a possible MVP.
Okay.
He's been pretty good in this tournament. He had 2 goals against Sweden? Didn't he have 2 goals against Sweden? No, Finland. He had 2 goals against Finland because they lost to Sweden last night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any surprise players from any of you guys where you're like, ooh, that guy's pretty darn good. I didn't know that.
A surprise player.
I know Finland had too many former Blackhawks on them, and I think that's.
Oh yeah, that happens. I mean, they had a goal early in the tournament from Henry Jokiharju, which is when that went in. I went, oh come on.
Yeah, and then he was embarrassed against Canada. And I was like,
oh, man. No, I think Trocheck I mentioned. I also think Matt Boldy's been great. I really had not coveted Matt Boldy. It's Matt, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Boldy very much before that Minnesota Wild, but he's had a pretty good tournament. He's been really, really solid. But other than that, I mean, I don't know if I've watched Morrissey enough from Canada, but watching the Canadians play the Finns yesterday, he's a really good defenseman. I mean, he's awesome. How shifty he is and how much he does with the puck and head up at all times. Great player.
I think underrated player. He's from Finland. Mikael Granlund. He had 3 goals. He was carrying that team.
Yeah, he had a great tournament.
Yeah.
Awesome tournament. 2 goals yesterday. He had that overtime winner against Sweden too. So yeah, he had a great tournament. Good call on that.
I'm gonna go with former Blackhawk Brandon Hagel. I didn't really when they traded Brandon Hagel, I didn't think that he would ever be in a tournament like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like ever playing with these caliber of guys for this many games. He played well. He got into that fight. He's been, just kind of a Swiss Army knife for him. So I really like Brandon Hagel.
Yeah, no, he's been awesome too. He's a hell of a player. Yep, miss him, but again, folks, if we're going back to the Blackhawks, the necessary trade, we don't need to get into that. It happened, had to happen. All right, so before we depart from the 4 nations and talk a little bit about Blackhawk hockey, we're going to do our trivia question now. 3-part trivia question about American hockey. The last time the USA won a major tournament in international hockey outside of a World Junior tournament where it was best on best was in 1996 World Cup. In a 3-game final, they beat Canada 2-1, lost the first one, won the next 2. There's a 3-part question. Who got the game winner in Game 3 when they won 5-2? Who was the MVP of the tournament for the U.S.? These are all U.S.-born players. Well, all U.S. citizens.
Got it.
And who's the one player that scored twice in the final game? So we're looking game-winning goal, This is for you, Hawk fans. Game-winning goal, MVP of the tournament. Remember who we just talked about, who could possibly be USA's MVP, what position they played, and who is the dual citizen, Canadian-born but U.S. citizen, who got 2 goals in the final.
Well, Brent Hull is the U.S.
Brent Hull. Yeah, Brett Hull. He was the one who got the 2 goals in the final. And then we got an MVP. I gave you a hint as far as position. MVP of that tournament, the World Cup of Hockey 1996. And the game winner. And I said, hey, you Blackhawks fans, this is for you.
Was it Jeremy Roenick who scored the game winner?
Jeremy Roenick was omitted from that roster.
Oh.
Not sure why, but you're thinking the same way. He may or may not have been a high school teammate of Roenick's.
Oh, it's not Eddie O, is it?
No, he was pretty old by then.
Oh,
Still in the league, just old.
Yeah, because it's not Tony Amonte, is it?
Tony Amonte got the game winner.
All right.
So the U.S., it was tied late. Brett Hull tied it late. Amonte scored with just over 2 minutes left to make it 3-2. And then they got an empty netter with Darian Hatcher, and then Adam Deadmarsh ended the game with 1 more goal. So they skated off 5-2, and it was a really tight game. Now, who is the MVP? Stars and Stripes in both that uniform and wore the same colors in his NHL uniform.
Is it Mike Richter?
Mike Richter.
Yeah.
All right, Sean.
Yeah.
All right. So that's your 3. That was a good one, Shawnee.
Thank
It's
you.
a three-pronged trivia question of the night. So rock on. All right, that was a good one. Let's talk a little Hawks, folks. We got to talk a little bit of Hawks and smattering. Nick Lardis, Hawk prospect, hotter than burnt toast, as Seth Jones would call him if they were teammates yet. Jimmy, what's going on with it? This kid just can't stop scoring in the OHL. What's the deal?
I mean, that's about it. It's him and the Brantford Bulldogs can't stop scoring. 18 goals in this past 10 games. I think if I remember correctly, it's like a 21 game point streak. He's absurd right now. I mean, he's at 57 goals. He's on pace for 71. His team just clinched a playoff spot in the OHL. I mean, he just doesn't stop scoring. He just, anywhere on the ice, he just finds the open space and he scores. I don't think there's a more complicated description of how he plays in that. He just does his job. And his job is to just put the puck in the back of the net. Whether it's once, twice, or 3 times a game, he just does it. And if you're a Blackhawks fan, this could be, now I get it, he's overaged in the OHL.
He's not, though, because you can play night. In order to be an overager, you have to be 20 years old. He's not an overager.
Well, on the upper crust of the age limit, I'll say, for the OHL. Mm-hmm. You know, he's not like Michael Misa, who leads the OHL in points, who is
he can't be in the OHL next year.
No, he's absurd.
No, he's got to play somewhere else, and if it's not the NHL, it might be NCAA hockey.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, Lardis is in his 4th year.
Yep.
But still, whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I was talking to Eric about this, and you know, Eric, we love Eric, but he can always be the skeptical type. He will always, pump the brakes on a ton of.
He could be the Brent Hull of, the World Cup of Hockey.
It's guarded optimism. That's all it is.
He's always guarded optimism, and we had a conversation about this. And he's like, well, in this league, it's not, the OHL, especially at his age, it's, not the hardest. And we've seen like top scorers in the OHL not translate to the NHL, especially like record breakers. My response to that is, I mean, it's pretty simple. Sure, a pitcher can throw a cookie down the middle of the plate. You still have to have the power to hit it out of the ballpark. And
sure, yeah.
I mean,
right. He's still scoring. He's still doing it. Yeah.
50 goals impressive, 21 game point streak, 18, what was it? 18 goals in his past 10.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. He's on pace for 70. It really does take a special scoring eye to do this. And he's a scorer. Now, do I expect to see him in the NHL next year? No. He's going more than likely to Rockford, which will be great for – what was that?
Which is fine.
Which is great. It'll be great for his development because I think the biggest thing with Lardis is he's a scorer and not much else. You know, he'll definitely need to add more to his game, especially if, you know, especially with other highly touted forward prospects in the Blackhawks system, probably up, you know, expected to be higher in the depth chart. He might have to develop more defensive skills if he's put on the third line. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing holding him back from being a scoring winger at will in the NHL as long as he can translate. And I think next year in the AHL will definitely be that stepping block that he'll need to be able to be an NHL scorer.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I mean, the bottom line is it's like, hey, we got a good prospect. You know, it's awesome. I mean, it's great to see that he's doing well. If he was not doing well and flaming out, no one would even know who he is. Mm-hmm. But you'd rather have him than not. But you know, and it's like anything else. We'll see. You know, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, he is on a tear. He's certainly doing what he's asked of right now.
I think he's willed Brantford to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, look at their totals. Like, he's got more goals than the top two guys combined on their team.
I mean, will he be OHL MVP? He'll certainly be a candidate.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe Misa will take it.
Misa probably will be OHL MVP, but because Misa has the most points in the OHL.
Yeah. So Michael Misa, folks, is predicted to go in the top 3 in this year's NHL draft. For those of you who don't know who that is, an 18-year-old who's dominating the OHL right now. And there's a possibility that the Blackhawks might be in a position to take him with a top 3 pick. Will they take him? I don't know. There's Schaefer, the defenseman. There's James Hagens. There's a lot of good players that are going to be in that top 3. But pay attention to Michael Misa if you're going to be paying attention to this June's draft, because he could be wearing the red, white, and black of Chicago at some point. And boy, would that be exciting if he did. He'd be a pretty nice ad.
Pretty good.
Yeah. And Jimmy, our buddy Artyom Levshunov is certainly putting a great string of games together as well. On the score sheet the other night, what have you been seeing about his progress? I mean, I know we talked about him a week ago, but he keeps getting better and better is what it seems like.
Yeah, something must have happened when he came up to the Blackhawks camp during the All-Star break. I mean, he must have learned something. He looks faster. He plays faster. He's reading the play. He has 6 points in the last 5 games. He's finding his teammates. He's making the right passes up the ice. He's filling out, you know, his defensive positioning a lot better than he was in November. And we're seeing the same thing that he's done the last 3 years and 3 levels of hockey. You know, in the USHL 2 years ago, he struggled a little bit. You get to February, he starts to find his game and he figures it out. He plays really well. Last year, Michigan State, same thing. Kind of struggled out of the gate, was kind of quiet. Wasn't bad, but just kind of quiet. Gets to around the February mark, picks it up, becomes, you know, freshman of the year, Big Ten defenseman of the year. We're seeing that same cycle again here, where he kind of struggles in this new league, struggles to find his defensive positioning. We're getting to February, and he's scoring. He's finding his teammates. He's got 5 assists in the past 5 games. You know, he's filling out his defensive role. He's figuring out how to use his speed. And that speed was kind of iffy early on. I blame that mostly on his foot injury, but it looks like he's definitely recovered from it. He's getting across the ice. He's filling his defensive role. Does he, like I have mentioned earlier, does he take risks that sometimes backfire? Yes. That's the point. He's 19. He should be trying these risks, and he should also be learning from them. And you can tell, you know, definitely now compared to games in November where he knows to play a little bit more back. He knows when that, you know, that gamble will not pay off. And he's starting to really understand what you can get away with at the professional level. I mean, if you're a Blackhawks fan, if you've been watching Levshunov the past week, you're blown away. Like, if you had stopped watching him in November, turned on the TV this last week, like, unreal. Like, his last 2 games against the Wolves, I mean, actually last 3, let's be honest, against the Admirals, the Wolves, and the Wild, like, he's getting it. He's getting across the ice. He's filling his lanes. He's making passes, 100 feet in front of him, and he's putting it on the stick like it's nothing. Like, this guy has vision. It's vision that I don't see from guys 10 years his elder.
Yeah.
And, I mean, do I expect him to make the jump to the NHL next year? I think no. I think he's one of those guys that just needs 2 straight years in the same league for the first time in like half a decade for this kid. But, I mean, the stock is rising. Like, he's the number 1 prospect in the Blackhawks system for good reason.
Yeah.
He's just getting better.
Well, it's funny. I mean, you said something happened to him since he came up for his brief call up with the Blackhawks and was practicing, and who knows, maybe that was just one of this is where I want to be, and I better really start stepping it up. If that's the case, if I'm mind reading, if you will, but I don't know. And Ray last week was just talking about him, and he's like, this guy's going to be an SOB to play against.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just going to be a big pain in the neck for other teams, and
brought
definitely
snarl to his game.
Yeah. That's right. I mean, they have their number 1 defenseman in the pipeline. Right.
I'm glad you mentioned he's going to be a headache to play against, because yesterday they were beating the tar out of Iowa. Like, Iowa couldn't do anything that they wanted to, especially in the first half. And I mean, Levshunov, he kind of goads the guy into trying to fight him. Like, Levshunov just pushes him and gets him away from the goalie. And this Iowa Wild guy, I don't know who this, snaps, drops gloves. Levshunov doesn't, because Levshunov's not looking for a fight. Levshunov like turtles, and like he doesn't get any good hits on him. But it becomes a 4-minute power play for Rockford, because Levshunov is using his body and being just smart. Yeah. He's smart. He's goading these guys. He's being physical in front of his goaltender, and he's just getting these guys to be like, I hate, and it's incredible. He's smart. He takes his penalties, sure, because he's young, but he doesn't take dumb penalties. He doesn't get goaded into stupid fights or stupid penalties. Mm-hmm. He goads other people into stupid penalties. And at 19 years old, to be smart enough to goad professionals into fights and penalties, look out.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't mind having, the player that you love to hate.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly.
Levshunov, he looks like he could be a little rat. Like, I mean, he looks like he can like piss people off, because he's bigger than everyone, and he knows it.
Be an agitator.
Yeah. No, yeah. If he's an agitator, that would be very helpful. Hi, Jacob. We keep posting your comments.
I get it, Jacob. I get it. People want to see him drop close, but
no,
he knows how valuable he is. He doesn't want to be off the ice for 5 minutes.
Break his hand.
He won't do it.
Have some.
Don't get hurt fighting right now.
Yeah, does no one remember Taylor Hall's rookie year way back in 2011, where he gets into a fight, tweaks his knee, and misses the rest of the season? I know a lot of people don't have memory past the last week, but rookies doing this kind of stuff gets them hurt. Levshunov doesn't need to get hurt. He knows his job. His job isn't to be a goon. His job is to be skilled.
Yeah. Well, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, we're all excited. Yeah. So real quick, I guess we touch base. I mean, the trade deadline is actually coming up. The Four Nations is going to clear, and then all of a sudden, all these GMs are going to get to work. 19-goal Ryan Donato. We've talked about him. He might be on the move. There could be more interest in him than we originally anticipated. Could fetch a lot. He could be on the move. It's interesting. And has it been reported yet what Theodore, what's his name? I don't know.
Shea Theodore,
what his injury actually is, and is he going to miss significant time? And then is Seth Jones worth a phone call if that happens? Assuming that Mark Stone is going to go to LTIR again, like he does every single year.
Well, he's going to go after the Four Nations because he's going to have an injury from the Four Nations.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's going to hang it up and then come back he's going to do the Mark Stone thing, which is fine. And then they can afford more talent. And is Seth Jones one of those guys if Shea Theodore is actually injured?
So here's the thing now. Vegas loves to roll the dice, pun intended.
Good one.
The only thing is, what does Vegas have in terms of, are you just moving Seth Jones to get the contract off the books, or are you moving it for an actual return? Because Vegas always rolls the dice so much and always throwing around draft picks and stuff. I don't know what they have to offer in terms like what I guess if the Hawks are desperate to move Seth Jones and Vegas is offering to take him, then you do it and you take his whole deal. But if Vegas is not giving you anything of value and you have to retain a bunch of money, I don't think you pull the trigger.
Yeah, and to go off that, Golden Knights don't have their first round pick this year. So I'm not saying that the, negotiations start and end with a first round pick with Seth Jones.
They don't have a first round pick for the next 2 years.
Yeah, you have to wait to 2027. So in terms of, getting the value for Seth Jones, which even with his frustrations, he's still worth a first round pick, especially a very late first round
Seth
pick.
Jones? Yeah. I mean, you're not giving Seth Jones away.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not. He would have more value in any return than anybody that they have on the roster that they want to trade right now.
Yeah. So I mean, are we going to hold out with Vegas for a 2027 first?
No.
I don't know.
I don't know. At that point, it has to be. We've said a lot that if you move Jones, it would probably be this summer. If you move him sometime in the near future, but you're not going to get something that makes sense for you if you do it at the trade deadline for just a first round pick. I just don't.
Yeah, and I mean,
it'd have to be a haul.
Yeah, it would have to be, and the phone conversation ends the second they ask for retainment. Nope, not happening. There's no retention.
No. Yeah, you're especially for 3 years. You're not going to do it.
No, it's more than 3.
Yeah, Jones is on until the summer of 28.
Oof.
So yeah, he's going to be around for a while. So I love the idea of Seth Jones being traded right now. I still, think that we stand with our original argument that if it's going to happen, it'll be this summer or way down the line. Mm-hmm. With the cap going up, I mean, and you want your team to get better, you could do worse in the back than having Seth Jones in your top 4.
Yeah, I think somebody summed it up. He's a good defenseman. He's just overpaid. That's literally what it is. Yeah. He's a defenseman just overpaid.
Yeah, he's paid like a number 1 defenseman, and he is not. If he was a number 1 defenseman, he'd be on Team USA right now, and he's not.
Yep.
So, I think an interesting question here from Jacob. Hi, Jacob, still here. Does Teuvo Teravainen finish his contract here? His inconsistency has been odd. Would like him to stay, but we'll see. I don't know. It's interesting. Teuvo Teravainen, he fell out of favor in the Finnish lineup going into the Canada game. Didn't press.
Yeah.
He is paid after this season. He's on the hook for 5.4 for 2 more years, 5.4 each for 2 more years. I would say that he finishes out his contract because I still think when the Blackhawks are trying to get better, the Blackhawks will not be a playoff team next year. Nope. They could compete next year. I think the goal is to be a playoff team by that 26-27 season is when it's like, now let's get into the playoffs. And if that's the case, that's when he'll be in his last year of his contract. I think he'd still be around.
Yeah.
But I'm up for whatever you guys think. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, 40 points in 55 games this year for him, it's not bad.
That's what he's got. Yeah, wow.
It's not bad. I mean, that's respectable. 40 points, 55 games. He's not a goal scorer. He only has 12.
Well, and the cap going up, he's going to be cheaper if you in a balance sheet.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 5.4, sure, that's like 6% of the cap this year. Next year, that's like 5.5. Year after that, it's under 5%.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sure, 5.4 is kind of what you want for like a second line winger, and he's playing like a third. But 5% of your cap for a third line winger when he's 32 and you're starting to maybe see if you can make the playoffs with a guy like Teuvo who has playoff experience both in Chicago and Carolina. I think he has intangibles that could at least keep him on contract for the remainder of his deal. I feel like at worst, maybe in the 2027 deadline, if we're just out of it and he's just not wanting to be there anymore, maybe you can trade him. Other than that, I think he's fine. I think he does what you kind of hope for with his contract. I mean, he'll probably end the season around 50, 55 points, or a $5.4 million contract, about $100,000 per point. You could do a lot worse.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, he'll stick around. That's good insight. That's
And if he had better players, he'd probably have better numbers.
Yeah, because he's a distributor. I mean, we saw those.
He's a distributor. He's not a goal scorer.
Yeah, we saw those comments where he's like, "Yeah, I mean, I know they want me to shoot like,
more,
people
but
are saying to shoot more, but I'm a distributor. That's what I do."
Yeah. So he's thinking pass first.
Yeah, cool. And when he has guys like, who knows, Lardis or Boisvert, Vanacker in 2 years when they're better, maybe it'll be that guy.
Or Andy's guy, Green.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Ryan Green.
Yeah.
So, this guy Jacob, you're funny.
Yeah. I was more mine.
Khrushchev always going to be around somehow.
Yeah, super bomb.
Yeah, it's true.
He's going to be a Rockford legend.
Yeah, I think maybe Khrushchev. We might see his number in the rafters in Rockford at some point.
Right up there with Bickle on the Ring of Honor.
Got his name put into the Ring of Honor, joining former Blackhawk Corey Crawford.
Yeah, Crawford actually has his number retired. The only player in Rockford history to have his number retired.
Corey Crawford.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
He was there for a little bit of time, but he put up some good numbers there.
Yeah. Well, good stuff, guys. Any other final thoughts before we move on? Obviously, the NHL. Well, the next time we're back, the Four Nations will be over, and we'll be talking a lot more Blackhawks heading into the trade deadline. And we'll probably have a lot more news and scuttlebutt, if you will. But any other thoughts?
Yeah, Hawks Maple Leafs this Saturday is going to be moved from a CHSN only to ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, and Hulu. So that's a big thing for kind of generate some buzz. And in case you're wondering about the CHSN experiment, the Sun Times released some numbers, not about the Hawks, but another team on the network. The Chicago Bulls have lost 63% of their viewers from last year because of CHSN.
What a mess.
Yeah, just a disaster.
That's good. Alienate your fan base is always a great policy.
Yeah, especially with these really crappy teams. So,
yeah. What was that news? Ben Pope was talking about it today about the season ticket renewal.
Yes, the season ticket renewals went out today, and there's a discount. Is it for returners? Yeah.
The
percentages did not go up a ton.
Correct. They only went up, I believe it was 2% as opposed to yep. So it's seeing increases of 2% or less per team. Last year the average increase was 6%.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're stabilizing in price. Which will be good for fans.
Should be good, and good PR move by the Hawks. Get those out there while the Four Nations is going on.
Yeah, and don't forget
why wouldn't you send those out while hockey's hot?
Right. Right.
You know,
and
sure, this team isn't hot, but I mean, like, come on.
No, I mean, this is the most intense, best hockey of this century.
Yeah,
it's absurd how good this tournament's been. I mean, it's just it's mind-boggling. Who would have thought? It's just crazy. So, yeah. Good move by the Hawks to get those
also,
out.
the Hawks centennial seasons next year.
Oh.
Do you think they're going to have like centennial jerseys like the Bruins?
There'll be some good merch, some good swag. Yeah.
Special programming. You'll probably have. You figure Taves they'll probably do something with Taves from the Cup teams, alumni. They'll put on a good show next year. So you figure that's in there.
Just make sure Jeremy Roenick and Connor Bedard don't interact, or he'll cry about it on the podcast.
Roenick will be really upset about it. Won't be good. He didn't say hi to me. I'm offended of what a teenager.
He didn't say hi to me during a game.
He didn't say hi to me.
Yeah. Also, Jason Dickinson, 2 to 3 more weeks from now, he'll be ready to play, according to head coach Andrew Sorensen. TJ Brody missed practice today doing a family man, and our
Ethan Del Mastro's back up.
Yep. I think because the NHL teams are allowed to start practicing today.
Good. Yeah.
Oh,
the gatekeeper thinks, if they went to that 91-92ish jersey, that jersey was so sweet.
Yeah.
That was awesome. They should definitely bring those back.
Yeah, they need to bring back those all black jerseys too.
Yep, the all blacks. The
all blacks are great. I mean, bring back like all the winter classics, like the 2009 Winter Classic was.
Yeah, and they'll probably do a lot more final laps, like those final laps around the rink.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? It wasn't Final Lap.
It wasn't called Final Lap.
I can't remember.
Last shift.
Last shift. One more shift.
Last shift or something.
Yeah, one more shift. Yeah, well, hopefully they'll do it for some, big names like Jeremy Morin and
Jerry Moran.
a few others.
Clendenning.
Thanks, Jeff. I am correct as usual.
Yes, he is correct. Yeah, Adam Clendenning, Jeremy Morin. One more shift for those guys. Jordan Hendry. I mean, some real. Let it rip here.
Brent Sopel, that'd be great.
Brent Sopel needs to stay off the old.
Delete his Twitter account.
Yeah, that's a big no.
Yeah.
Big no.
Yeah. Oh well. All right. Well, good stuff tonight, gentlemen. Always good to see you, and we'll be back next week. And like I said, we'll be back into the weeds of more Blackhawk hockey and then more NHL talk leading up to the trade deadline, and also the David Rundblad would be another one last shift.
Michael.
Also, the Blackhawks will probably have some signings heading into the spring from some NCAA players. Hopefully not too soon. I hope some of those guys go on some good runs. But in the meantime, the Four Nations folks enjoy the hell out of Thursday night. It's going to be such a cool game to watch. And the viewership, I mean, it'll be amazing to see how many people actually tune in. It'll be amazing.
Yeah. So, one last guy for the one last shift. Drew LeBlanc.
Drew LeBlanc. Yeah.
Drew LeBlanc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a resale Loge ticket right now that is going right now for $10,000 at the Garden for 2 seats, $10,000 a piece, $20,000 for Thursday night's game from a season ticket holder. That's unbelievable.
Oof.
Yeah. Not bad for an exhibition game.
Exhibition tournament, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And the cool thing is we get to do this we're going to go to the NHL players, we're going to go to the Olympics, and then we're going to have the World Cup of Hockey back every other year. Like, international hockey's here to stay.
Yeah, I think it's big time. It's interesting. I think that the fact that it's 4 teams is almost more impactful.
Yeah.
Because you can just have more in a smaller period as far as meaningful games. But I don't know. I mean, I obviously, you don't want to not include, other nations. I hope that this doesn't come into like a makeshift team. You got to play for your country. I'm sorry, but there can't be a Team Europe. There can't be a Young Guns team. Just don't start making this.
Well, the thing of it is, though, so these are the Four Nations tournament, the top 4 countries represented in the NHL. The 5th country represented in the NHL is Russia.
Yeah.
And there's not a 6th country that currently would have enough players to fill out a roster.
Yeah.
So if you're
you'd have to make deals with like international leagues like the Swedish Elite League and others. Be like, hey, like, do you want to like have your players join this to fill out rosters?
The only thing is, I think that would have to be. So I think the legality of it is, so the Four Nations tournament is sponsored by the NHL and the NHLPA. The Olympics and the World Championships, that also includes the IHF, the International Hockey Federation. So if you were going to bring guys over from the Swedish Elite League, you would have to involve the IHF, I believe. So,
interesting.
Yes, and Dylan Larkin said that this is the biggest game of his career because he finally has a championship to play for. So hopefully Dylan Larkin and Team USA deliver.
Yeah, I love the comment from the away fan. And hey, buddy, hey, we're all home fans. I know you like the Wings gear, but we're all home fans on Thursday night. So, unified in that sense. Yeah. So we'll hope that the Russian team's back. Another one. Germany. That's of interest. The away fan is also mentioned back. We'll see what happens. We'll see. I agree with you on a lot of that. We'll see what happens from here. But away fan, thanks for chiming in with your comments.
Lucas Reichel, top line, Team Germany.
If you want more Hawks in it, put Germany in. Yeah. Well, anyway, good stuff tonight, guys. Take care, folks. Go USA. What a tournament. Kind of sad that it's going to be over, but what a job by the NHL. And we'll be back and we'll be hitting you up next week with some more stuff. So I'm Andy Campbell on behalf of Sean Fitzgerald and Jimmy O'Malley. Everyone have a great night. Go US.